now if we were to go inside of here and then search for the Eye of Ender, there is now a little plus sign, which we can go ahead and take our items that are in here. We now have the Eye of Ender crafted. Hello everybody, and welcome back to some more Subnauticraft, or Oceanblock 2 if you would prefer. Today, we are going to be setting up auto-crafting with Applied Energistics 2, which we did get set up, our basic storage system, in the last video. This we did not do in the last video. I will explain that later. But for the meantime, the basic things that you all need to know is that this thing will set up a network that will allow us to hold items, and with what we're going to do today, craft things within this network using items that we have access to from within here, or within here whenever I actually set up something else called the ME storage bus, which once I hook it up onto the storage controller, we can then hook it up from here. So I really just need to actually get that thing set up, but I want to wait from doing that just because we are going to have to move this because the auto crafting needs to be connected to the store system, and it gets big. So I've done something. I've used up the final tube on my intersection over here, and I have set up another chute right over here, which will then go down to here, leading to another intersection. Now, I know these illumination rods right here are kind of ugly. I wanted a thing that would go into the corners, but I didn't have any sort of lights that would go like that. I was hoping for a dynamic light that kind of went just along the corners, but now there's nothing like that in Simply Light. Wink, wink, developers. But all the way over here, we have ourselves the room in which our AE2 things will be done. At least the central parts of them. I may have some things that offshoot out into other areas, but for the most part, it is going to be all in here. But you might be wondering something. Why on earth did I make a whole ladder system to get all the way over here instead of just making another elevator in order for me to get down here way faster? I did. But I wanted it to actually be, like, connected to the base. Because remember, we are going for at least inspired by Subnautica. So I think it looks good. All that is left for me to do is to just get the things we need in order to start this up. And then I can move this stuff down there once we have everything. So what we're going to need to start our auto crafting. We need two things for the main part. A crafting storage and a crafting coprocessor, which is optional, but it helps to make things easier, and I will explain why later. To start off, we're going to need a crafting unit. With this crafting unit, we can go ahead and take one of these and mix it with an engineer's processor, and that gets us our crafting coprocessing unit. The second part to this is going to take any crafting storage component from AE2. Now, I have since added all of the ones up to 64K components to our replication, so we could do that at any time, but I'm just going to use the 16K. I don't want to waste all of the materials on one thing, because, like, yeah, I could then craft something with 64,000 materials at once, but am I really going to do that? Once you guys see what I can do with this thing, you're going to understand why I probably won't need to do that. At the very least, very soon. So now we just need to mix those two together, and then we get ourselves a 16K crafting storage component. So now what we would do with these things is we would connect this to the network, and then we would put either of these in any order, and now we have ourselves a CPU. So with the more CPUs we have, the more crafting processes we can do. But this is where things get weird. If I want to have multiple crafting processes happening at once, I need to have separate CPUs. So I can mount more of these blocks onto this to get more crafting storage or more of those co-processing units if I wish. But if I want to have it be a separate one, I would need to have them disconnected like this. A little bit unfortunate, but it works just as well. So now that we've got ourselves the components for the CPUs though, we need a way to actually be able to request our recipes for these, because we can't just randomly autocraft with things. Oh no, there is a recipe system. For us to do that, though, we're going to need an ME pattern provider, blank patterns, and a pattern encoding terminal. It is all very easy for me to get. And didn't I make another terminal already? Oh, well, if I didn't, then that's fine, because this is, in fact, EMCable. So we can't, or not EMCable, that is the wrong mod. This is replicatable. So we go ahead and take one of these and then mix them together. And there we go. We got ourselves the pattern terminal. So now we can just put this one back and then slap this one down here. And now we can craft our pattern recipes for these. But like I said before, we need patterns. So there we go. Now we got ourselves our blank patterns. So now what we would do with these blank patterns is we would go into this baby right here. And we would just now need to put in a crafting recipe of sorts. I have myself a butt ton of blaze powder and ender pearls. I feel like it would be a crime not to use these guys for this little recipe right here, since it is a full automation thing. So we can just go ahead and plop these into there. And now we have this thing set to an Eye of Ender. So now, so long as we have the components connected to the storage by any means, including external storage bus, once I get that set up, we can then craft our ender pearls. But we are going to need two more things. Since this is a crafting thing, we're going to need our pattern provider, as I mentioned before. But we will also need a molecular assembler. Oh crap, it's going to use the quartz glass. Okay, well, both these recipes are pretty much the same. We just need to grab some more formation cores. Everything that I have for this thing, most of my applied energetic stuff is already inside the replication room. So I can already just replicate most things, but there we go. Now we have the pattern provider and the molecular assembler. So for us to use the pattern provider, it needs to be hooked up to the item in question, or the inventory source. So since this is a crafting, we will use the molecular assembler. Now, a thing to note is that the more molecular assemblers I have connected to one thing, the more crafts specifically I can have going at one time. Because let's say I have one massive recipe that uses up other processes, you can do those all at once with one CPU. However, with craftables, you will only go as many assemblers as you have. So that is something to note, but all we now need to do is put the recipe in there, and it would now be ready, provided that this is connected to the network, which we can go ahead and do by simply connecting a CPU like this, and then either have it be bigger and touching, or just put a cable there. So now if we were to go inside of here and then search for the Eye of Ender, there is now a little plus sign, which we can go ahead and take our items that are in here. I don't know why I have more ender pearls in there for some reason, but we now have the Eye of Ender crafted. So here's what I would like to do with this. I want to go ahead and then take these things down. I want to get myself some more of those molecular assemblers and possibly pattern providers, and then make myself a little kind of network-like thing when it comes to those things. And then we're also going to have ourselves our crafting coprocessors all down there, along with the AE2 system. All of this is going to require power. And power, for me, is all reliant upon these universal cables. Now, these do have a benefit that the more of these cables I have, the bigger power battery I do have, because these also function as a power network. But it is a bit limited and a little bit tedious, and I need an excuse to fill up the episode because there are other things that we need to do, and this would actually be really fast if we just did this. So, what do we do? Wireless power, of course, as maybe the title might suggest. I don't entirely know how I'm going to title this. Probably something like Autocrafting and Wireless Power, but yeah, that's what we're going to do. So, for us to get wireless power so that way we can then move this, we are going to need to get into flux networks. For us to get into flux networks, we need flux dust. We need redstone and lava for this. Easy stuff. Where this gets tricky is the skystone dust. Now, skystone we managed to find in the last video, which we get from meteorites. But that's not really a good way for me to get a large amount of them, as for me to continuously get more of these as I'm going to need, I need an automated source of skystone. That is where this comes in. We're finally explaining it. So, this is my skystone dust automation. I have already set it up. How this works, we put ourselves some quartz fiber here to kind of separate this network. So we got a sub-network, which is funny because literally in the last video, I'm pretty sure I said I probably wouldn't use sub-networks in this series. And now here we are. And we have a storage bus connected to a compacting drawer here. All the way up there. At the new build limit, which apparently as of the like 1.20 update of Minecraft that has increased to 320, we have ourselves something called an annihilation plane. It is very easy for me to get. Just take some of the annihilation cores and some flux crystals, all very easy. We have that set up to build limit connected through here, and it just generates skystone dust. So what we can go ahead and do with these is we can go ahead and take the skystone dust and our redstone dust over in here with our tempered glass jar, which has lava in it already, and that will start making us our flux dust. Alrighty, so I hooked up the flux dust to the network. That way we can just go ahead and have auto crafting in this actually work just way better. Just because it would be so tedious if I had to have everything else outside of inventory, so I figured might as well include it. So now that we got the flux dust, the next step towards our wireless power is to get these flux cores. Just takes obsidian and our Eye of Ender along with the flux dust, and that gets it very easily. So now with that, we can now go off into the wireless power. What we need is we need to get a flux plug. To get that, flux block. Very easy, just some more flux cores, and then we can go ahead and make the flux plug. And then by exchanging it for redstone, we get ourselves a flux point. How this works, we just go ahead and then head down to here. Yeah, right here should do it at this little junction. And then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create a new network. Now, what should we call this network? It's an ocean related network, so I got it. Instead of Fortune Cookies network, we're gonna call it Altera's network. If you get it, you get it. So now with the flux point, what that's gonna do is it's gonna take power into its own network. And then I set that backwards. That was the flux plug. That's gonna take power into the network. The flux point is going to exude it. So I could actually go ahead and hook this thing up right back here. Or actually, I could probably hook it up to the energy acceptor, as it seems like that's what I would need to do. So now that we got the wireless power thing ready, and we've got everything else, I am going to move all of it downstairs into the new room. I'm going to get all of the cablings hooked back up, because I do still need this thing to be up here. So I may end up needing to take more cables, so this may take a little while. I will see you all when it is all down in the new area.
20 minutes later.
Alrighty. It's all set up, and here it is. It's a little small, but I guarantee you this is going to help us go a very long way. There is a unfortunate piece of bad news when it comes to this, which is that I am more limited on space than I thought, and so I was only able to fit in a few of these molecular assemblers right here, and we only have ourselves this one pattern provider, which has a very limited number of patterns we can use. Fortunately, though, if we go ahead and make ourselves this advanced pattern provider upgrade, we can actually go ahead and shift right click on this. And this is not what I thought it was. Okay, wait a minute. Maybe I needed this advanced pattern provider capacity upgrade. Because with this thing, it looks like it would actually increase it, since that's what it's called. Oh, okay. So I got step 1. I just need a few more steps, which would take capacity cards, which are easy to get. But then we'd also need this crystal grower. That is going to take a little bit more stuff. Oh, it's going to take a lot more stuff. Okay, well, luckily for me, at least I got the main part of that done. So, hey, there we go. Now we've got ourselves everything we need to be able to get ourselves auto craftings ready. And I mean, I can add more of these along these corners right here. Just as long as they're touching more of these molecular assemblers, it would be fine. So, you know what? Even though it was a bit shorter, I say this is a GG. So be sure to check out our last episode of Subnauticraft, where we got started with our AE2. Bye-bye!